I would like to introduce our next speaker, Miss Bina Matthews. Bina Matthews is an extraordinary woman who took a leap of faith and set up her own management consultancy, Bina Management Consulting. After 20 years of working in and with senior management across sectors, she is an executive master coach and communications consultant, and she specializes in strategy, impactful communication, employee engagement, team building, goal setting, and action planning. She has mentored and helped as well as other individuals and students across sectors. As an executive master coach, she enables executives, entrepreneurs, and potential leaders to level up professionally and personally, in which she has an impeccable success in. She is on the Advisory Council of Evolving Women, which is an organization that works with young women from Africa, where she is a mentor to the mentors and some of the young ladies as well. Welcome, Bina Matthews. Welcome to the
Thank you so much.
platform. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I was just enjoying listening to Uhud and Aisha speaking, especially the last bit, which is, as you can go by your introduction, very close to my heart, all about mentoring.
Oh, I'm so excited to meet you, and finally, I get to meet you. um,
Yeah.
the floor is yours, Bina.
All right. So I'd like to begin with a story. The year is 1997, and a young couple are working late in their studio, preparing for a client to come and finalize a project and listening to the radio, Channel 4, as it would happen to be. When suddenly they hear them announce their first huge competition. This is the time, remember, when the Spice Girls were big.
Actually, yeah.
So the prize is a all expenses paid trip to the Spice Girls' first live concert in Istanbul. So my husband and I looked at each other like, cool, Istanbul would be cool. And then they say the second prize is a year's supply of Twix chocolates. Clearly, our priorities need some help because that got us very excited. So I promptly called up the station and actually got through. And the person was asking me the questions, and I just hit it off, and we had a long chat. The question was very easy. What's Posh Spice's real name? Duh, Victoria. And they said, okay, hang around by your phone. You'll know in a bit. So the client came in, we got busy, forgot about this. And then suddenly, late at night, the phone rings. I said, oh my God, could it be? Pick up the phone. It says, this is Channel 4. Is this Bina Matthews? Yes, it is. And they say, congratulations, you won. I said, oh my God, a year's supply of Twix. And they said, no, you won the big prize. You are going to Istanbul with +1. All expenses paid, first class, staying at the hotel the Spice Girls are staying in, attending the concert, and then attending the after party. So why am I sharing this story with you when I'm supposed to be talking about careers and decisions and things like that? We're always told to aim for the stars and you might reach the treetops, right? So I just want to tell you that sometimes we aim for the treetops and we do reach the stars. So don't limit what you expect will come to you. So it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm Bina Matthews, as Natasha so nicely introduced me. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of my experience with you. It's an interesting one. Working in a dynamic, ever changing environment, how do you work with such uncertainty and high risk factors? You'll find that what I'm going to talk about today directly addresses this. It also addresses managing stress levels. And as to what are the main types of management, what have I seen that works the most? I think moving away from the traditional model, which was very dictatorial and autocratic and with one-way communication, which was focused on the concept that employees are lucky to have a job and they're there to just do that, versus the modern approach where managers share a flow with their teams. They have open doors. They're probably in open plan offices where it's a dialogue, where strategies are worked on together. So I find from personal experience that this is the best approach, because when teams feel that they are heard and that their opinions, their creativity matters to the company, they're more engaged. So are we done with the poll? Okay, so we have 60% of you saying sometimes, 20% of you saying no clue, and 20% of you saying yes. Now, the good news is this reflects the results that I would get if I did this poll anywhere in the world across any sector. So, we're always told about finding our passion and following our dreams, right? So we focus on that. And then you find it, and you're most probably in this course and you're studying this because that is your passion and that is going to lead to your dream. But what happens when you hit the bumps along the way? What keeps you going? What happens after the 10th big bump? How many of you know what your core values are? Now, as an executive master coach, helping people level up, it's not just identifying what they want and how to get it, but is to know how to keep them motivated. So, in order to know what keeps you motivated, you have to understand what your motivation patterns are. So that is the critical factor. So when I said this, when I asked you the question in the poll, I'm sure many of you thought of movie style self-motivation. You can do this, and looking at yourself in a mirror, and you got this, and you're gonna kill this. It works to some extent. It gets your adrenaline pumping, but sustained motivation requires you to understand that each of us is different and each of us is motivated differently. So, in class, you most probably have the students who can slog day in and day out, and all they want is those top marks, right? You also know the students who that just doesn't work for. And even if you're being told your marks are dropping, they're just not bothered, because the same thing doesn't motivate both of them. So when we keep trying to motivate everyone with the same motivator, it's obviously not going to work, right? So the first thing we do in coaching is understand what your core values are. Now, core values, interestingly enough, are formed between the ages of 0, that's right, 0 to 5. And they never change over the course of your life. You will change your beliefs, you will change your behaviors, but never your core values. What happens, though, is that they get pushed to the background and we forget what they are. But they're running in the background constantly. How many times have you been in a situation where you think, oh my God, this person is perfectly, suited to me, but we don't vibe well, right? You just say, they get bad vibes of this person. Or this job ticks all the boxes, yet I am not feeling like it's the job for me. What is happening in those situations is the core values that are represented by that person or company or role are clashing with our personal core values. So, if I had a client who thought she wants to change her job because she doesn't like her job anymore, it turns out she had a manager who she felt was not being honest with the company and with her work. And her core value was honesty. So once she identified that, then she realized, oh, it's only this one manager that I have a problem with. I actually love my job. Now, can you imagine what a waste it would have been if she had just switched jobs just because she had the wrong reason? So that is how important core values are. They guide our decisions. And when we have strong emotional reactions to something, if we examine it a bit more, we will find that they violate our core values or they resonate with it. So the way to find it for you is to think, in a situation, what would be the deal breaker for me? If I had a perfect job, the perfect pay package, everything is exactly like I want, what would be the deal breaker for me? For example, for me, it would be respect and honesty. Now, if those two were missing, there's no amount of money that you would give me that would make me take that job. So you can just imagine how much your decision making will benefit from knowing what your values are, right? So just a sec, let me just go down to, yeah. So now I'd like you to just look at these questions over here. These identify your motivation traits. So, what compels you to take action? The carrot or the stick? Do you think about what rewards you'll get, or do you think about the penalties you'll get if you don't? For example, I want to submit this project on time and get the bonus points for timely submission, versus I want to submit this project on time so that I don't get a lecture about it from my supervisor. Can you see the different kinds of energy that would go into doing that project? One has enthusiasm and excitement, which obviously leads to more creativity and better quality, as opposed to the other one, which is heavy and filled with fear. So, which do you think yields the better results? So, this motivation trait is usually revealed in the language that we use. So, you will find that the language you use indicates whether you're moving towards an outcome or away from a problem. So just remember that pulling power is always greater than pushing. Think about a suitcase. We wheel it along, right? We pull it behind us. We don't stand there and push it. So in a race, what do? You keep your eye on the finish line. So you're focused on that, and all your mental and physical resources are focused on getting you there as fast as possible. Now, think about when you are running away from someone who's trying to catch you. You don't want to be caught. What happens? You keep turning around to check how close they are to you, right? Now, every time you do that, ironically, what are you doing? You're slowing yourself down. So, if you identify from this question that you are more of an away from person, then explore how you can become more of a towards an outcome person, because you will find that it becomes so much easier to keep yourself motivated and to keep going. Let's go back to the questions. Do you take the initiative or do you like to follow others? Now, this question has no right answer. There's no one way better than the other. We're different and we respond differently. So when you see a possible opportunity or experience or try something new, do you just go for it and jump in with both feet? Or do you wait for someone else to do it and use them as your guinea pig? And you say, okay, let's see how it goes for them, and then I'll decide, right? So do you feel safer following in the steps set by someone else rather than create your own way? Again, as I said, no wrong approach in this one. They both possess strengths and weaknesses, but you need to be clear about what traits you possess so that you don't put undue pressure on yourself thinking you're the other one, right? How do you know that you have done a good job? Now, we have intrinsic motivation, which comes from within ourselves, and extrinsic, which comes from outside. So, internal, intrinsic, would be self managing and evaluating. So, you have your own checklist and your benchmark against which you measure what you do. So, when you can tick your own checklist off or meet your own success criteria, then you feel like, okay, that's a job well done. For example, I bettered my turnaround time, or I had better time management this time, or I was able to focus more. Or do you feel that you were successful only when you hear, well done, from someone else? Parents, teachers, supervisors, colleagues. So, knowing what your motivation source is will help you get the appropriate support you need. For instance, some of my clients who are executives who own multiple businesses, they will say to me, listen, coach, I need you to follow up with me. I've committed to doing it this week, but I need you to send me reminders and to make sure I'm doing it. And then when they've done it, they'll say, look, coach, I did it. And then I have to say, oh, bravo, well done. And then they feel they've achieved something. The others will say, I've said I'll do this, just let me be and I'll do it. And then they will come back and say, I'm really happy I did it because of one, two, three. And then that's it. So know which one you are, again, because it will make you more comfortable with yourself and with staying motivated. So we've gone through the basic motivation traits. Okay. Now I want you to go back to the answers that you wrote for these three questions. Why did you choose this line of qualification? Was it after binge watching Breaking Bad? What purpose does it serve? Did you choose it because someone told you that it's what you should be studying? Or that the best career options are in this field? Or someone that you admire is in it? Or that you just had an interest in it? Why did you choose it? And what purpose does it serve? If you haven't written, I'll just give you a bit of time to write it down now. So usually this is a half day workshop that I run where we would go in depth into identifying your criteria, your specific motivation traits and sources and processing methods. But I think it's quite obvious we can't do that in a 20-minute session. So this is the Telegram version. And I do hope that you will gain enough from this to follow up and to get a proper understanding of what motivates you. Because you are at a critical juncture where you will be making decisions on what you're going to specialize in, which line of work you're going to follow. And as our previous speaker said, there's so many options opening up. You need to know why you are picking whatever you pick, because that will help you to stay motivated in whatever you decide on. The second question, you see a potential opportunity in a situation. How do you respond? Don't overthink, just put it. Think of a typical situation. They're opening up this extracurricular activity. Have you ever done it? No. Do you want to try it? Do you just go like, hell yeah, and just go for it? Or are you like, I need to research this and I need to check up the stats on it, and I need to talk to people who've done it before. Again, remember, no good or bad, no right or wrong answer, just two different kinds of people. You need to know which kind you are. So if you are someone who is a thinker and strategizer, and you tend to hang with a group of people who are all jumping into action people, you might feel like a fish out of water at times, but it just means what process that you go through is different. That's it. Third question: how do you know you are good at something? Because if I were to ask you, which subject are you the best at, or what is your key strength, you would tell me, right? But how do you know that you are good at that? Is it because you've got this feedback from outsiders, from teachers, from parents, from faculty, from supervisors, managers? Or do you have a benchmark for what good means and you meet it, so you know you're good at it? So now that you know from the poll where you stand on being able to motivate yourself, we have quickly gone through the basic motivation traits, the sources, and the processing methods. And along the way, you've been answering the questions that I've been throwing up, right? These questions shed light on which of these are yours. So now, when you read your answers to these three questions, write down the traits and patterns that we went through. I'm going to go up again so that you can see them. Do you use language that directs you towards an outcome or away from a problem? Write it down there. And why am I telling you to do this? So that you can refer to this every now and then and remind yourself of the best way to motivate yourself. Because trust me, there are people who think they know how to, but you are the only person who knows how to press the right buttons for yourself. So identifying this, coming back to it every now and then will really help you with that. Okay, so look at the direction that your language takes you in. Are you an internal or external source of motivation person? Are you self-managing and evaluating? Did your answer indicate that? Or are you someone who works best with support? Because that's all external means. You value others' opinions and you work your best when you have external support. So write down which of these is your motivation source. And then which is your processing method? Are you proactive? Do you jump to action? Or do you prefer to take your time and plan and strategize? Are you a thinker? So now you have mapped out a pretty decent map of your motivation patterns. So knowing that, I'd like to just, before we open up to Q&A, sum it all up. Remember, the power of pull is far greater than push. So if you find yourself saying, I'm pushing myself to finish this, I'm pushing myself to send that application, you're now aware of the power of the words you use, right? Stop and think about it. If I'm pushing myself, I'm thinking about I'm being a stick person, not carrot. I'm moving away from a problem. What will I get when I do send this? What will I get when I get this job or when I submit this project? Move from penalty to reward. So, number one, be super clear about your goal. Remember, I asked you, why did you pick this course? Why have you decided on whatever career path it is that you have decided on? Be super clear about it. Remember, the universe cannot give you what you want if you don't know what you want yourself. The clearer your goal, the clearer the path that will lead to it. So be very super clear about your goal and then know why you want it. If you want it because it's what somebody else wants for you, it's going to be a very long and hard journey. I can promise you that. Know why you want it and own your why. Let it be your reason for wanting it. That is half the battle won. Make sure your goal aligns with your core values. Your head, your heart, your gut are in complete alignment. You feel good in your body. You know, when Shakira said your hips don't lie, she wasn't lying. It's the truth. We can fool ourselves with our mind, but our body will always reflect when what we're doing is not in sync with our core values. There's no alignment between head, heart, and gut. That's when you'll fall sick. You get exhausted. You get anxiety. If all these things are happening in your body, you need to stop and listen to what it's saying and analyze what action you're taking that could be setting this off. So align with your core values, know your motivation, incentive, and patterns, which you have uh, got a 101 on today. And then, according to what you have identified, use the right words to motivate yourself. Because the biggest passion project, the biggest dream that we have, we really want it, it's for the right reasons, it's aligned with our goals, blah blah blah. Reality is we're going to hit some hard bumps along the way, and the only thing that will see us over that and continuing on our path is being able to motivate ourselves. So I would like to spend more time answering your questions. So feel free to contact me on any of these. That's my LinkedIn QR code. On social media, I'm at Coach Bina. You can contact me on WhatsApp or email. But I would now love to hear your questions.
Wow, that was that was such a deep session, Bina. Like that was such, it really gave me some food for thought. I just listening to you, I was like, wow, the time that we have with you was so short, like so short. We need more. Not only did you make me really think about what motivates me when I make certain decisions, but you change my aspect, like what is the long-term goal? You could have a job that ticks every single box, but what does your body say? Do you really want that? Is it beneficial for you in the long term?
Mm-hmm.
That was such a deep session, and I really hope we could have more of you. But just to go into the questions, there's a question that says, "How are you applying game theory in your strategies, considering both behavior, economical, and managerial aspects?"
If you are talking about gamification, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. That is gaining ground rapidly because I think that is the single unifying thing across the world now. All of us across ages, we find that games are stress relief. They're
Yeah.
also ways of keeping our brains active. So, yes, it is being definitely applied in managerial aspects in order to get the most engagement out of people. but I think that's another session.
Yes, it is. Another question: what are the key pillars to having a successful strategy? What are the key pillars to have a successful strategy?
You'll find the points I summed up with, I think the questions from Bakar, is would apply here. To
Mm-hmm.
have a successful strategy, you need to be clear about your outcome.
Yeah.
You need to know what the strategy is going to result in. So that's number one. Number two, who does your strategy apply to? Who are the people who are going to be actually implementing it? Now, if they don't understand your strategy, it could be the most beautifully crafted strategy in the world, but it means nothing. So be aware of your key stakeholders. Why? Because then you will communicate your strategy in the most effective way for them.
Mm-hmm.
If you want people who are engaged and motivated, because statistics have shown that your productivity increases infinitely when employees are engaged, they need to understand. If they feel that they're just there doing their little job and they don't know what the big picture is and how they contribute to it, it's not going to work. So be clear about your goal, be clear about your stakeholders, communicate clearly to them, and then make sure that they are clear about what their role in it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then how the outcome affects everybody.
Yes. I think you've really answered most of the questions in the beginning as well as you were going through the session. Once again, it was such an honor to meet you. I could be the moderator, but you spoke to me, and I'm sure you spoke to the students as well. And again, I must say this again, I wish we could have another session with you. But thank you so much for joining us, Bina. Thank you
Not
so
at all.
much.
It's been my pleasure, and I wish all of you the very best um, in whatever goal you're pursuing. And here's to you staying motivated.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye bye.